Welcome to the Breakaway Show. Today's topics are pretty crazy, so sit back and relax. Well, if you can relax, because baby making is apparently a far-right movement, at least political says so. So we'll dive into that. George Soros is funding far-left organization, but this isn't new, but it'll be pretty weird why he's funding them. Meme reaction, just our best of the week, essentially. So you can't miss that. And what happened to the rainbow flag? Why all of a sudden it has a billion other different colors on it? Activist highlight of the week. You don't want to miss that. A brand new segment. I'm not going to tell you much about it. You're going to find out here in the show. And Trump, one of Trump's top VP picks, gets a lot of backlash, while another one surges in the fans. And of course, we can't end the show without Kev's quick hits. So you got to stick around to see that phenomenal segment. And with that, that's going to be the Breakaway Show today.
Yeah, welcome to the Breakaway USA breaking news show, your pivotal source for the most compelling and urgent news stories of the week. I'm your host, Fabian Garcia, and of course, alongside me, as every week, we have Mr. Kevin Phares and Mr. David Kate. And every week, we dive deep into the heart of the news that matters, bringing you detailed rundowns, critical analysis, and our unique perspectives. So without further ado, let's make people mad tonight.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And for our first story tonight, we're going to talk about the newest far-right conspiracy, which is something that's absolutely insane. It's this entire idea that we should maintain the human population. This idea that maybe sometimes people, a mommy and a daddy who love each other very much, should actually get together and make a baby. Baby making. Yes, it's the new far-right conspiracy out of Politico, if we can pull this up on screen. The far-right's campaign to explode the population was an article posted yesterday in their opinion section behind the scenes of the first natal conference, where a motley alliance is throwing out the idea of winning converts to their cause by trying to make their own instead. And they begin it by saying the threat we are told this weekend is existential, biological, epic defining. Epoch, however you want to say it. Economies will fail, civilizations will fall, and it will all happen because people aren't having enough babies. And they say this. The funny thing is they open up this article with this almost hyperbole, like this hyperbolic tone. But the thing is that how is that wrong by any way? There's more to this, and they go on to describe a natal convention in which it's called Natal Con, and its emphasis on childbirth notwithstanding. There are very few women in this cavernous conference room of the Line Hotel, as if only women have something to do with creating babies, and more and more and more. And so I'm curious your guys' thoughts in terms of, so they are framing, like I said, the entire idea of having babies as a conspiracy or as if it's some kind of bad thing. Why is this? Why does the left do this?
It's actually pretty funny. Talk about that. Actually, as you're talking, I'm going to look up the name of the person who wrote the article, and there's like an 80% chance that that person, guy or girl, works for the World Economic Forum and is a writer for them. So, David, take it away. While I just
sent you the name, by the way, too.
Right.
So you have it.
There you go. You got it. So, fellas, what have they not labeled at this point as a far-right like conspiracy or movement? If you guys remember a few months back, I believe it was Politico actually, that called working out as a far-right trait. So they do a bunch of things. And funny enough, I remember taking a class in college where they were trying to convince you that the reason why people tend to be more conservative is because they have certain traits, which all falls under the same thing, that they're trying to attack conservatives here and saying they're different, they're weird. They have this ideology of wanting to make babies, and they frame it like you and I would understand. Well, that's a good thing. Like you said, Kev, what is wrong with the fact that we want to have more babies? Well, the way they're trying to frame it, especially to their audience, which we know are a bunch of blue hair freaks who don't like marriage and definitely don't like the concept of nuclear family. They love, they tailor this message to them essentially in the end of the day. So, regardless if we find any connection to the World Economic Forum or not, I believe that they're trying to tailor this to their audience, because Political, in a sense, is left-leaning, and who in this country destroys the nuclear family more than ever, believes that we shouldn't have babies, doesn't believe in the concept of marriage or buying your home and finding love and whatnot. It's going to be the damn left. So
Well, and
that's their audience here.
exactly. Well, and if you think about it too, every single major left-wing issue has to do with in some way decreasing the population. Abortion directly. I mean, there's no question about it. Homosexuality. If you're not having heterosex, then you're not making babies. Child sterilization. I mean, that's through our gender affirming care, as they would call it. Endless war that we have. They'd rather consistently, it doesn't even have to be sending our boys off to war. It's let's fund Ukraine, let's fund Israel, because funding it will kill more people than trying to have any kind of peace talks. Climate change. They consistently say, don't have kids. If you do, then you'll increase your carbon emissions. Then even there's government financial dependence, because unhappy people that are more dependent on somebody else, somebody who believes that money is an issue, is less likely to have children. And the list goes on consistently.
Yeah, no, this is entire, and it goes beyond the actual having of the children. It's a breakdown of what your natural inclination as a human being is to do, is to reproduce and create more humans. So if they can negate that want in you, then they've done their job. They've lowered you, your status from a contributing human to society to a contributing human to your government. Because if you'd have nothing to leave anyone as your heir or as your offspring, then what is your point in life? You go out and you look for a point. And if there's no religion as part of your life to make some grand narrative to work towards some goal of making humanity better, then what are you going to get into? Typically, these people who are lost, they get into these cults like this leftist cults, this climate change religion, and other pseudo-intellectual religions that are being pushed everywhere by the left. And again, one thing the state wants is to control you. The more time you have to dedicate to the state, the more time they can use you to go then bring other people in. If you have children, you're going to be way too busy to be thinking about a revolution. That's why a lot of these leftist protest activists you see, they're lesbians, they're feminists, they don't want to have any kids. They have all the time in the world to cause all the chaos in the world.
Well, and that is why I've even thought about, and this is kind of another story that I think we might have touched on in this show before. I know I've touched on mine a lot, is that I actually believe that an underlying leftist political issue that they want is just every sense of division. They don't, it's not even necessarily that they're so ardent on abortion or they're ardent about not having babies or anything like that. It's the pure idea of, well, they are ardent on not having babies, but the idea of division is going to in and of itself achieve that goal. Why? Because if we look at it right now, young men are vastly more conservative than young women. Not only did we have the poll that came out last year of high school seniors that showed that young men were much more likely to vote conservative as women were much more likely to vote Democrat. We also now have consistent polls coming out about our presidential primaries that show young men are much more likely to vote for Donald Trump as young women are more likely to vote for Joe Biden. It makes sense. That's what's reflective of the data from last year. But if young men and young women are so divided on political issues, now I don't know the numbers exactly off the top of my head, but I'm willing to bet that a key indicator as to whether or not somebody is going to find somebody as a lifelong partner would be politics and religion. If you can't agree on those things, you're probably not going to be like in that person's life forever. You're not going to marry them. You're not going to date them, anything like that. And so if you have this many people that can't agree on politics, sorry to say, relationships, marriages, babies, gonna go down.
It really will. And actually, the longer I think about this whole story that they broke today, because this was a breaking story for them, that all of a sudden it's a far right conspiracy or movement. We're still not sure exactly what they're trying to say here at the end of the day. But you know, the more I think about it, perhaps they're having all these terrible policies that make everything more expensive just for even single people, regardless. You know, if you think about how much it costs to actually live today as a married couple, and then you put on kids on top of that, perhaps this is all intentional at the end of the day, that they're trying to frame it as a right-wing thing to have kids. They're also making it seem like it's very expensive to have kids, because it is, in a sense, because of their economy currently. But, you know, I almost feel like this is all intertwined together, because at the end of the day, this is coming from Politico, and they have an agenda that they're trying to accomplish here. So perhaps they're trying to tailor a certain narrative to, or start to create a certain narrative, not even tailor a narrative.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Let's do some simple math here. There's 350 million, let's just call it 300 million people in America. let's say half for Dems, half for Republicans, 50-50, right?
Mhm.
So that's what, 125 each. Let's call it 125 each. How many people voted in the last election? Like 100 million?
It was about half. Well, in 2020, it would
It
have
was
been
like
about that.
1.3 or 130 million. Yeah.
Yeah, in
Okay.
2020, it was almost
Even
half
more,
the country. It was
150.
like 45% of the country, I think.
Okay.
150
So half
million.
of the
Yeah.
people that are eligible are voting. Now, it doesn't take a lot of babies to be created by the conservative side to inundate and to wash out all of the magical votes that the Democrats are getting. Let's say they get an extra 10 million votes from the illegals and voter fraud and all these things. One generation from now, you're going to have, if let's say half the conservatives have babies, that's what, 75 million new conservative babies. That's going to wash out the vote. And if liberals, or not even liberal, but leftist people are not having babies, I can see a future where a statistician said, hey, even though we're importing all these people, they're still having a crap ton of babies. So how do we combat that? Let's try to make it so that if you have a baby, you're a white supremacist. If you have a baby, then you're alt-right. That's the only way that they can stop it, if I'm thinking numbers wise.
Yeah, well, basically, conservatives just have to screw like their OnlyFans creators, I guess.
Yep.
I think you're right.
I mean, that's what I have always thought about that though. Is like, so not even kidding you, when I've had the conversation of like, oh, how many kids do you want? I've always jokingly said at least 3, so then we can create one more voter than what we are currently inputting. So that's what I've always said, is always have at least one more voter than what you currently have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know we're going to wrap this segment up, but I was just going to briefly leave this, is that if you guys want to make it believe like it's a far right movement to have kids, then please do it, because in about 20, 30, 40 years, we'll overrun you and you'll end up like Israel, where the majority of the Knesset is now going to become conservative because the conservative Jews have overridden. They have like 5, 6 kids on average, versus the progressive Jews there.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
why don't we take a quick little break, guys, and then we'll be right back with a hot segment of who is funding these tent cities across college campuses. We'll be right back.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some Freedom 2.0. Now, the Constitution is awesome. Type 1A.
And let's take a moment to talk about actually our sponsor, Freedom 2.0, because they're not just another water company. They're a movement that is unapologetically fighting for the freedom of speech, ensuring that you stay hydrated. They're a great sponsor of the show. They allow us to do what we do and come out and create these broadcasts for you. They also have a very unique purification process that includes reverse osmosis, ozone-3 ozonated infusion, and ultraviolet water filtration, which removes all those impurities without the need for chemicals. This is not the same kind of water that Dasani and Aquafina and all these woke companies are generating for you and selling to you, creating a bunch of waste, and then taking your money and going funding DEI initiatives and LGBTQS plus and everything else initiatives. This is a company that supports people with your values, your morals, people like us. So make sure that you support them. Supporting them supports us. So go over to freedom20.com and use the code BREAKAWAY for 15% off your order. So stay hydrated and stay free with Freedom 2.0.
That was actually a perfect time to shout out Freedom 2.0 water, because one guy that definitely doesn't like freedom or anything to do with freedom is George Soros. And that is exactly who is behind these radical students on these college campuses. So fellas, this is a story from New York Post, and I just want to read it because this is actually pretty crazy. George Soros and his hard left accolades are paying agitators who are fueling the explosion of radical anti-Israel protests at colleges across the country. The protests, which began when students took over Columbia University campus lawn last week, have mushroomed nationwide. Copycat tent cities have been set up at colleges including Harvard, Yale, Berkeley, the Ohio State, even in my home state, Emory in Georgia, just literally 20, 30 minutes away from me. But this is crazy, guys, because George Soros is, of course, funding all of these left-wing organizations such as SJP. SJP is students, or let's see, Students for Justice in Palestine. You have a mix of different types of stuff like this. And as you guys will see in this segment, it's not just it's a lot of people that have been involved with a communist or a Marxist ideological movement. And you'll see a bunch of these individuals infiltrate this movement, not even infiltrate, because they find common ground together in their ideological hate or their movement. Guys, they're paying these people between 7 to 8 grand to do this stuff. So,
guys, I might go do it myself.
Oh
I know,
God.
right? And I'm sure a
Go
lot of people
terrorism.
are doing this
Go
just because of the
terrorism.
money.
Like,
But
that all
listen
I
to
gotta
this.
do?
So one of the organizations that's getting money directly from George Soros got like $400,000 in grants. We all know what that
Wow.
means. Pays $7,800 to community-based fellows, and between $2,800 and $3,600 for its campus-based fellows. And what these fellows do is that they work about 8 hours a week for 2 weeks, where they lead these Palestinian organizations. So all of this, of course, traces back to George Soros at the end of the day. What do you guys think?
Wow. Look, I'm not
I mean, it'll leave you
surprised.
speechless.
Yeah, speechless with Kev is really happening.
That's exactly what it is, man. And Fabian, you go first.
I was just gonna say this is George Soros being George Soros. So if you read his works and his books where he talks about himself, he literally says that his vision of the world is an open society. Now, he doesn't know what that means. He just wants things to keep changing. He doesn't want borders. He doesn't want America to be a power. He calls it an overvalued asset that is able to inject its cultural hegemony all around the world and dictate what happens. So he sees America and he says it needs to be broken apart. It has too much power. Now, where he differs with communists is that he actually believes in having personal property, and he doesn't believe in communism because communism has a goal. And what he wants is just to have this amorphous blob of society that's traveling without any kind of goal or any rhyme or reason. So that's why he aligns with these neo-Marxists that want to cause disruption. So where him and the communists have what they have in common is that they both want to disrupt and break down America. And that's why he's funding all these people. And he's using all of the interest and all the money that you lost in the stock market, and he's giving that money to pay for all these protesters and these activists to go and shove it in your face.
No, absolutely. And that's one side of just George Soros. But what I want to bring up is over just George Soros is the idea of, think about how much is astroturfed in our and fluffed like a box that's full of mostly peanuts and packing peanuts. Like, that's what happens so often. And this is a perfect example of that. The BLM rallies, we know that a lot of them were people that were paid to go from city to city to city to make it seem like it was so much more popular than it really was. Then we even look at things like January 6th, or like what I believe I have producer Cody, if you could pull this up, things like this right over the weekend, the Patriot Front. I don't know if you guys heard about this.
The feds.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Goes on a march
These
in
bozos.
Virginia, and everybody talks about it. And then they all of a sudden get arrested. Take a look at this video real quick and see if you notice anything.
Stay on the sidewalk. Sidewalk.
So you're arresting all these people.
So Patriot Front got
For
pulled
something.
over. They were all piled in the U-Haul, and they are all detained.
Held in a U-Haul.
And not a single one of them, you can pause it now. Not a single one of them is getting demasked. You're telling me that you have all these people and all these police here too, and not a single one of them is asking for an ID. Like, that should be the first thing they're doing, asking for an ID, validating their identity, taking off the mask, everything like that. Look, I don't know. I cannot say for absolute sure that these are federal operatives of some kind or paid by the Fed, but I believe they are. And so to bring it back to the original story, everything that we see that is being framed as a crisis needs to be questioned. Now, some of them might actually be a crisis, but what I'm saying is that there are so many red herrings out there to where just like this, do not immediately believe everything that they're telling you.
Oh, I definitely agree, Kev. And I want you guys to see actually this stuff. So, producer Cody, if we can pull up Cam Higby's tweets, because I want you guys to see what they're actually finding in the halls and in the encampments themselves on these college campuses. So, take a look at this, guys. It's classic communist because, again, it's an overarching ideological drive that both of these idiots share together, all the sheeps together. So at the end of the day, this is what we're finding. If we can keep scrolling down as I just keep talking about this, one communist sign after another. You have everything, all the love of the Marxists that you guys are seeing from here. Why do you guys think Marxists find, common ground together with these social justice warriors that we see?
I think it's because the social justice warriors are confused. They're people who mean well, but it's very easy to hijack someone who wants to do well, because well is subjective to whatever you believe it to be. So if the cult and all of these people say this is what's right, this is how you can do good, then you're going to do that which they tell you to do, because they have power, they have numbers, they have organizations. And if you're a malleable person who just wants to do good, like I said, good is subjective depending on what you believe to be good is. So look, throughout most of history, we thought that the Jewish people were the most oppressed people in the world, because they were. And now 50 or so years after they have their own country, now they're the oppressors. Like, what in the hell happened? So for thousands of years, these social justice people would have said they are the victims. And now, because they have technology and nuclear weapons, now they're the oppressors. So it doesn't have to do anything about the individual people. They're just confused, and they go wherever the organization tells them to go. That's a cult.
No, 100%. There's not even like anything like that is absolutely true. We have all these people that, and it's not just a cult. It's also in a way kind of a death cult, if you really think about it. Like, what are they actually really working towards? If they're not working towards actually any kind of common goal, what they're really working towards, and the reason why they get along, back to your original question, is it's because they all believe in the destruction of America. Marxism is entirely antithetical to what America is founded on. I mean, if you look at Lockean theory and compare it to Karl Marx, they're practically black and white. You even look at some of the if we looked at some of the tweets and stuff that were being brought up on screen earlier, I don't know if we still have them, but of the different pictures that you had all of these anarchist logos that were spray painted everywhere. Would a Marxist and an anarchist, why would they get along? Because they both believe in the destruction of the government. However, they'll claim that that the people there on January 6th are the insurrectionists. Really?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's something I want to show you guys. This is a video talking, Kev, you talked about the Patriot Front being feds.
Mhm.
I completely believe they're feds. This is a video, and it went viral a few, like 6 months ago, of this patriot who's so scared of getting demasked, he hides his face like a child. Take a look.
Yeah! Demask! The way you talked about my brother is fucking disgusting. You do not talk to people. Demask! Demask!
Look at this. See how he hides his face?
Demask! Take the mask off! Demask! Demask!
So that was these patriotic people who love America, who, as soon as the actual patriots said demask, because they understand these are most likely feds or somebody who is paid, ripped off the mask. These tough guys started hiding their face, run away. They found out who this guy was. They found out I believe he went to UC Riverside, if I'm not mistaken. And literally so the school had posted him, and I forget his name, but it says once he graduates, he wants to work for the federal government. And lo and behold, now a year and a half or so later, now he's in this fake Patriot Front who is marching, and people have gotten wise. The actual patrons know what's going on. You can't pull the wool over their eyes. No one knows who these people are. They come and they go. They're not arrested. When they're arrested, they don't remove the mask. They don't ID them. They put them in a U-Haul and take them away. Like, what in the hell is that?
No, absolutely. There are so many questions that we'll probably never have answered, but we should still ask them.
Guys, this is still all part of the same thing. It's that these people are being funded. There's money that's coming into these organizations that's and they're well organized organizations. So they got that already on lock. And this is all coming from the same source of people. So we have George Soros, and then we also have somebody that's been throwing hundreds of millions of dollars into these organizations as well. And his name is Howard Horowitz. And a lot of people may have heard of him, but a lot of people haven't, as much as if they heard of George Soros. And perhaps he doesn't fund these DA initiatives that we see with George Soros, but he funnels a lot of money into these far left activist organizations. And he's a board member of Westpac. I still don't really know what Westpac even stands for. It's like a political action committee out of New Jersey or something like that. And it's essentially fronted with the idea that this is doing for the well good of New Jersey. But in reality, if we can actually pull up the website, you'll see what his website's all about. It's a bunch of progressive buzzwords with them creating more DEI stuff, diversity, equity, inclusion, progressive stuff against racism. So you have a lot of left-leaning idiots, essentially, that some of, like George Soros, he believes he's a god, for example. So you have these type of people using all of their money to pour into these activists and protests, and they do so because they love disruption. They understand that disruption is probably the best way to get certain candidates elected again, and you're just seeing that all over in front of you right now.
Also, if you could be the one who's causing the disruption, then you can make money and profit off it because you are controlling the collapse. Therefore, you can control what the goalposts are that you make people want to go towards. So if you have a corrupted or chaos in society, you can then spend some money and set goalposts for what success would look like. When in reality, that success just makes you more money and gives you more power. This is the George Soros method. You cause disruption and then you set goalposts for success. You convince people that that's going to be success, all the while you are profiting the entire way.
Absolutely. And like even on top of that, I think about too, just like what happens after DEI, right? DEI ends up eating its own. And I don't know if you guys saw this video. It just makes me think about it a little bit. I covered it on my show yesterday, Speechless. But Don Lemon was on
Don Lemoni.
Don Lemon, the famous
Don Orange,
the gay black Frenchman, was on Bill Maher last weekend, and he talked about it, and he said maybe DEI has gone a little bit too far. Well, this Don Lemon, who I'm happy he says that maybe it's gone a little bit too far, that it's like a religion, whatever. He said great things about it. Well, like great things that were negative about DEI, but he never once recognized that maybe his career had a little bit to do, and him getting as far as he did had a little bit to do with DEI. And like he'll never recognize that. He'll never maybe apologize for also pushing that even further while he was on CNN. Like that's the thing, is like you were willing to accept and love DEI as long as it was benefiting you. And all these people that George Soros is funding, they're willing to love and accept it until it stops benefiting them. And then once it stops benefiting them, then they're out of it and they're like, oh man, that's how you know that you're either brainwashed or you're in on it. Those are the people that believe it.
That's exactly it, Kev. Then you got it. And that's how we're going to wrap up that segment for tonight, because we have a lot of great segments ahead as well. So we are going to continue to the next segment after this short commercial break. So we'll be right back.
And guys, quickly, before we get into the meme of the week, I do want to talk about our Telegram group that you need to join. It's called Uncensored News. Scan that right on your screen or go to t.me/breakaway, because what you get there is news that you will not be shown on any other platform. And it's news that we can't even post on social media because we will get even more shadow banned than we are. So go to t.me/breakaway or scan that on the screen. Join us get news as it breaks, and make sure you never miss anything that we put out. We're doing Substack articles, we're doing documentaries, we're doing short form content, we're doing shows. So make sure you don't miss it. There's a lot of good stuff happening there.
And don't
with
worry,
that
we're
being said-
always triggering liberals too. If you like triggering liberals, that's what we do. And Telegram is the place to do it, because that's the thing is we could try to set up like those Instagram like group chats and everything like that. No. Instagram's going to try to censor us. Telegram doesn't. So go check that out.
Absolutely. And with that being said, guys, I want to introduce the second of our new segment called Meme of the Week. Production, let's play that. And today we have a meme of the week by our friend, maybe not, but a great account called Libs. And he actually posted this video. This is all of our first time seeing it. I wanted to make it so we can get some real authentic reactions.
I do
Cody,
have
let's
to,
play
before you play, Cody, I'm sorry, but I actually covered this on my show last week. But
Oh,
I love this video. Great video. Play it.
House,
Mm-hmm.
say for a month
And a half.
and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You think you would be entitled to move in there?
Well,
Take my stuff,
well,
move in
it's
there?
a lot of. I'm not the only one that is squatting. It's a lot of other people on the block. If you want to be technical,
Mhm.
you know, and a lot of people encouraged me to do what I'm doing now.
But she wants her place back.
Yeah, but I had put a lot of work in here, and I spent a lot of money. I am on a fixed income.
Is that power hooked up legit there?
My power is
That's not legit.
not legit.
No, you stealing a bit of power.
I am blessed.
What do you do for a living?
I receive Social Security. I don't have
What
no
happened?
secrets.
Disability?
Yes,
What's your ailment?
I'm not gonna say.
You know, that's her right. If I left my house,
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God. Well, let's just
What is
say
that?
I understand now why some Democrats actually came out against the squatters. I was like, isn't this what you guys like represent at the end of the day? And if it comes out that no, they think they're crazy, and we see why they're crazy.
Fabian?
I was going to say, that is, someone feels entitled and superior where they're doing an illegal thing and they're justifying it with unequivocal generalizations about why they're doing it. And as he's pointing out, well, I spent a lot of money here and I'm on a fixed income, as if that has anything to do with it. And he says, what's going on there? You're stealing power. And she says, well, I have a disability. Which one? I can't talk about it. Like, come on. Like, I know it's funny, but this is the level of ridiculousness that we've gotten to. And this is just
I thought the funniest part was when he's like that power doesn't look like it's hooked up legit, and the I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, but either way, it was just like no, it's okay, like it's like we hooked it up, and he's like, no, you're stealing a little bit of power, and it just goes, I'm truly blessed. I'm just like God gave you the ability to steal the power. It was like, that's like the best one. Then you're right. They come back and they're like, and they're like, oh, you're on a disability. You're on disability. That's how you're collecting income, after already admitting to spending all this money. That was the claim to some level of ownership of the properties. I spent all this money. It's not even like you earned the money. You stole it from the government, which I would argue the government stole it from me in the first place. But still, the government gave you that money. And then you claim that you put all of it into this place. And then you even admit, oh, I'm not at liberty to disclose my disability. As you're walking fine, you're speaking fine, you're hearing fine. Like, what the absolute... We don't have a bleep button, but that's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
I mean, these squatters are crazy just in the first place. What they're doing, they actually think that it's not legal, that they think it's justifiable. It's like, I don't have anywhere to live. I'm on low fixed income. I don't know what to do. Let me just take over this, vacant home, which could probably not even be vacant. If you guys remember from a few weeks ago, you can just be gone for the weekend for vacation to go take care of somebody or whatever. And boom, they squatted your, they're squatting in your house. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is crazy. Yeah. And, it's all fun and games when it happens to someone else, but when it happens to you or in your neighborhood or in your city and it gets closer to you, that's when it goes from being some esoteric kind of like, oh, cool, it's a story about people over there that it's happening to, but then it's happening to people because look, it doesn't matter what color you are, brown, black, white, orange, green, red. Someone's sitting in your house when you get home and they're not going to get out. That's going to piss you off. It doesn't matter what it is. That is equality right there. Like everyone feels the equal amount of pissed off when you have a squatter sitting in your house that will not get out and you're making payments on it.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right, well,
I think that does it for the meme of the week.
That's the meme of the week, everybody. Did we want to do the little animation that we have one more time?
I'm not gonna lie. That's honestly better than like the Grammy Awards or the Oscar Awards. That's a hell of an intro for posting a meme. I'll say
Meme
that
of the
much.
week.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What's up next, David?
Well, I think you're gonna tell us what the hell is happening with the rainbow flag.
Oh my
Like
gosh, we gotta
why is
talk
there
about
like
this.
80 billion colors now on the
Don't even
rainbow
get me
flag,
started.
bro?
This is one story that I didn't do any research on before, so I am blind into this one. And don't even get me started on the pride people.
That makes two of us.
So okay, let's talk about
Alphabet
this. And
people.
yeah, if we could pull this flag up, Cody, because this, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, sexes of all ages, genders of all ages, whatever, this is your new flag. And if you're looking at it and say, what the hell did the graphic designer do? He forgot to move things in place. No, that's actually incorrect. This was made for a specific purpose. So let me read the description that Wikipedia has for this. It says this flag is comprised of many different symbols. From the left to the right, the multicolored chevron has the colors of the trans flag. White represents people transitioning,
Oh,
gender neutral people, gender non-conforming, and non-binary people. The pink represents femininity and blue represents masculinity. The chevron also includes brown and black stripes. These stripes represent both people of color. Black stripes has an additional meaning, representing those who are living with HIV and AIDS. The purple circle is surrounded by one yellow circle on its outer side and one on its inner side, representing the intersex community. But we don't stop there. Let's convolute it even more. It wraps around the chevron, showing the intersex people can be of any gender, race, sexuality, or other identity. The circle is unbroken and unadorned, symbolizing wholeness and completeness and the potentialities of intersex people. Colors purple and yellow are colors purple and yellow are used since none of them can be representative in the traditional sense of gender binary. The red umbrella has an 8-part canopy, 2 of which are completely covered by chevron. I mean, okay, this goes on and on.
I'm so fucking bored. I'm sorry, Fabian. It's not your fault. It's just like this is just like too fucking much. Oh, I just had to pull. I was just like getting so pissed off just watching this. Like, this is so crap. I have not heard one thing about my straight white male power in this. Like, what the heck? Where's my representation?
Well, that's, Kev, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that I see all of these colors and I was shocked when I saw white, but then Fabian told me that white's not actually for white people.
Oh, no.
It's for what people transitioning, right? So, I mean, come on, where's at least our color, right? I see every color under the rainbow, but I don't see a single color for us white people. So,
bro, I think it'd be so funny if they had. I feel like it'd be so funny if they had a color for colorblind people. That would kill me. I would die.
So here's, one thing. So it is really funny to us and really stupid to us, but there's a reason why it's so overly complicated, is that you want to have people invest so much time and effort, people who really want to understand this, that they get so down the rabbit hole and they're confused on so many different things that they don't know what to believe. And it all becomes a convoluted mess and everything becomes the same thing. And that's exactly what these philosophers like Hegel and Herbert Marcuse a long time ago talked about, that everything has to become the same exact thing, and only then will humans find their true meaning, be actualized, find their true meaning in life. So they want to do away with anything that can be divided. That's why men are becoming women, women are becoming men, intersex, and this and that. They want to confuse you as to what a gender binary is, so that you're completely at that point brainwashed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's been their goal all along, right? Is to create as many identities as possible because they like their identity politics. And even those people like John Money, you can blame those people that created this whole gender ideology in the first place, because without them essentially saying that gender and sex are not mutually exclusive, we've gone to this point in a sense, because if that idea wasn't there in the first place, I almost believe that today we would just be looking at the same rainbow flag we saw like in 1990s, for example. And yeah, it might be annoying or whatever, but at least it's 10, sorry, not even 10, but like a million times better than this crap that I'm seeing. Because first of all, too many things to remember. Second of all, boring as hell. I don't even care. I honestly could care less what you identify as. If you want to identify as that, whatever. But when you're forcing that stuff onto me, onto kids in elementary schools, that's when we really have a problem. And again, it starts with the people that have invented this whole ideological manifestation at the end of the day.
You're absolutely right. And even building on top of that, consider the marketing implications of this too, which is just like the worst part of it. In my opinion, like this is one thing that really pisses me off. And maybe it's just, I was one of my majors in undergrad was marketing. And so I care a lot about this. Bring up that flag one more time. Production. I think it's still there if you can. Yeah. So you look at that thing. That is there's way too much going on in it. Like if you want people to get your cause and to be a part of it, like compare that with like the Apple logo. Simplicity is key. You don't need to have all of this stuff. You don't
unless
need to
you're trying to confuse.
Exactly. If you want to bring, and that's the thing that's I find fascinating about this is okay. So in their entire flag, they want to try to encapsulate everyone. Right. And so that's why they have all these different things. They got to have all the alphabet. They got to have all the flipping numbers. They started getting plus signs in there and crap, and now all the colors and then different shapes and everything. It's like they're basically the worst classes you ever took in high school. It's like geometry, calculus, and flipping algebra all in one. But if you really wanted to encapsulate everybody, don't you think that you'd just do like one color to bring them all, or even just like the original like rainbow or something, and being like everybody falls under the rainbow, like some bullshit hippie crap like that. Like I feel like minimum that. But then they put all this stuff in here, and from a marketing perspective, this is just terrible. You're not going to win anybody over. Like, and this has been what I've said about pride the whole time. You want to try to convince Christians to get on your side. Don't call yourself one of the 7 deadly sins. And like the list goes on, but their marketing is absolutely terrible. And it really makes me mad, because if I was of the devil, I would want to take over their marketing department, and I could absolutely crush it.
I know we're about to wrap up this segment, but just to quickly go back to what you were saying, Kev, if they're going to be simple, it's going to defeat their entire purpose. We know that going back to simplicity is not their best friend, right? Right? Real simple questions does destroy their entire ideology. So they want complicated stuff. And the only way they can be inclusive to every single person, even the person that identifies as a wolf, is by having a flag that represents everybody. So that's my last thoughts on that.
I get it.
100%.
All right. Why don't we take a quick little short break, and we'll be right back with what the hell is happening with one of top VP picks for Trump. We'll be right
excited.
back.
Let's go.
Blah, 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 blah. What are you talking about? Here, have some freedom to up. Now, the Constitution is awesome. That's what it is.
And guys, before we get to our next segment, I want to kind of highlight an activist of the week, because there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good work that you as a viewer need to know about. Has the boots on the ground, is actually doing good work, not just out there trying to make as much money grifting like a lot of these people in the community are, who we are going to be calling out, by the way, because I hate grifters, and we'll be calling them out. So if you're grifting, just know you're going to get put on blast.
Andrew Tate.
Matt Kim.
Sorry.
So welcome to Activist of the Week, where we shine the spotlight on those who are making a real difference in the world. And this week, we are featuring a production, if we can pull the video up, an extraordinary woman who we all love and we work very closely with, whose courage and dedication are nothing short of inspiring, the one and only Seek Smith. So Seek founded something called the Mom Army. And the Mom Army is a survivor-led organization. So a lot of the people who are in it were trafficked as children and now are fighting back against it. She's a fierce protector and advocate for children. As a founder of Badass Do-Gooders and Mom Army, she's leading the charge in the battle to protect our youngest and most vulnerable. So her work extends beyond organizing. She's a connector and a branding specialist who dedicates her expertise to preventing child trafficking and ensuring that the perpetrators face justice. And her efforts are a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of community and resilience. So we just want to take a time and shout out Seek Smith. You should follow her on social media. She's doing a ton of good work. Absolutely. And that is our activist highlight of the week. Take it away, David.
Let's go Seek. Seek really does a lot of stuff, especially on the ground there in Arizona, which we know is an important battleground state, which perfectly leads us into Trump. Not Trump himself, but his VP pick, or perhaps one of his potential VP picks. Let me be correct on that. So one of the top people on the short list for Trump's VP pick was all over Twitter a couple days ago, and she was on there for a few days. And this story actually started an interesting trend. But we know that South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, she said this in her book, which is interesting to know why, that she shot her 14-month-old puppy. Now, she justified why she did this. This was a hunting dog, and of course, South Dakota laws allow that. She said that the dog actually attacked one of their livestock. So again, under South Dakota law, she was legally allowed to do so. And she said that this was a decision she made and she committed to it. So she received a lot of, backlash from both sides, from the Democrats, from Republicans, dog lovers, non-dog lovers, everybody, right? So, fellas, before we start to look at different potential VP picks, is this just a load of crap? Does this matter at all? Is this some blackmail operation against her that forced her to put this in her book? What are y'all's thoughts?
This is my first time actually hearing about this. So, Kev,
really?
Yeah,
okay.
I
have
saw
a lot
it,
of thoughts. I have so much thoughts on this story. I do not care. Like, literally, I don't care. You want to know why? Because, okay, so any conservative who is mad about this story, I think, doesn't actually understand it. First off, this was a story from 20 years ago. And look, I don't believe that dog life has the same inherent value as human life. Now, does that mean I think we should just go kill a bunch of dogs like Dr. Fauci? No. But this dog had shown repeated behavior that was threatening to animals and humans, and not in a way in which it was trained. It killed neighbors' chickens, as well as when Kristi tried to stop it from killing those chickens, it turned on her and started attempt to bite her and could have been a danger to children. A lot of dogs are killed for a lot less. Ask Michael Vick. But so there's that one. But then you see all the liberals that are getting really mad about it. And I look at them and I'm like, man, look at your feed. You're the same people that are donating to Planned Parenthood. And so you're getting all bent out of shape because somebody shot her dog for being disobedient while at the same time you support baby murder. Get out of here with that crap. And it really pisses me off, if you can't tell, because you sit over there in your high ivory tower looking down on Kristi Noem for something that happened 20 years ago, while you today are telling women that they're empowered for murdering a child. And so, yeah, no, I don't care about this story. I don't care that she did this, whatever. Like, it happened. It was not that big of a deal. And if you're sitting, and the biggest thing about that is that liberals, which are the main people that are coming out, some conservatives went after her, and we can have that debate as to whether or not she was justified in killing this dog. We can have that. But any liberal that is getting mad at her, anybody who supports the Democratic Party, I don't want to hear it, because you're not actually mad that she killed a dog. What you're mad about is that she represents a belief system that you disagree with. You're mad that she's a conservative. And so you found one thing where you didn't take any of the context of the story, never wanted to actually get to the heart of the debate. You just said she killed a puppy and then got everyone on your bandwagon to oppose her because she disagrees with your beliefs. It's not about killing a dog. It's about being a conservative.
You're
Well,
absolutely
and you know,
right,
aside
Kev.
from that,
And
the
Fabian, right before you say that, just to real quickly say this, this is just hilarious. You're right that a bunch of liberals and progressives who came out against this but support abortion. How funny is that? It's a bunch of them are vegans, so they're like, you can't eat animals, blah blah blah. But I'm gladly will abort a baby at 8 months. Fabian,
Yeah.
take it away.
Listen, the only reason why this is even an issue, I mean, aside from the political aspect of it, is why would somebody get mad about someone shooting a dog and not shooting a cow, or shooting a, you know, whatever, a rodent or a pig that's on your lawn? The only reason is because dogs have adapted, and I'm not going to say evolved, but they've adapted. Number one, they were pretty much created by humans, right? They domesticated wolves and they started breeding them. Okay, so they were around humans so much that the thinking is that they develop the ability to express emotion similar to humans by watching them, and over time develop stronger eye muscles that move similar to humans. So we kind of see them in ourselves, and then we're like, oh my gosh, it's a dog, compared to a cockroach or a cricket or a rodent that can't really give you kind of
That's
any emotion
exactly
that you
it.
can see. That's why people are like, oh, it's a little puppy, it's a dog, it's an animal. At the end of the day, whether you domesticate it or not, whether it's a nice one or a mean one, they're animals. They're not humans. And like Kev said, and like Dave said, if you want to talk about something, let's talk about abortion, because there are actual humans being killed every single day. I get the red herring. I get the whole deceit or look over here, not over here. But at the end of the day, it's a very simple, logical conclusion to say, if you're so worried about a dog being killed, what about the humans being killed? And that's the end of the argument from my
And that's
from my
exactly what
opinion.
I'm saying is it's not about the dog at all. It is because she is a conservative, because she's being floated as Trump's VP pick. They know that she's being floated as Trump's VP pick. So their whole thing is let's put her out as this dog murderer before she even can get to that point. Because then if Trump picks her, people already have a negative image of her.
That's exactly it. It's going to be like with all the hoaxes, you know, it's that they're going to have a picture already of this chick as a dog murderer. And regardless of what facts you present, like the ones you just talked about, Kev, in the beginning of this segment, they're going to care less about that. They're never even going to get to that. But
also, nobody wants to talk about the fact that Chinese delicacy is dog. Like you're saying,
they don't want to talk about that.
Anytime anything happens, no one talks about China doing the same thing. COVID lockdown, social credit scores, and opening prisons of millions of people called the Uyghurs, but everyone focused on Palestine. But no one cares about the Uyghurs that have been, in that situation for over a decade. No one talks about them eating dogs. No one talks about them having the biggest carbon footprint in the entire world and doing nothing to stop it. No one talks about them having no freedom of speech. But all these idiots are over here talking, oh, look at America, look at what they're doing. It's like, dude, look at the 800-pound elephant in the room, you idiot.
Chrissy Noam killed one dog, and you all ate a crap ton when you ate your flipping Kung Fu Panda food. Jesus,
that's so funny. All right, fellas, listen, let's move on to another potential VP pick here. So she's not killing any dogs, but she's definitely surging in people's favorability. And I'll get your thoughts about what you think about her as being a potential VP pick. But if we could put up Tulsi Gabbard on Dave Rubin's podcast. This was actually a pretty good clip because Dave Rubin pointed this out in a really good, well, is this it? I think so. Yeah, let's run it. I forgot that the tag's a little different.
To win this election, he needs to bring in what you represent. So if you get the call, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready because I know what is at stake. And if that call came, I would say yes. And I'd be honored to serve my country in that way and to be in a position first to help win this election, to stop the Democrat elite from destroying our country, and then actually begin the real work of getting our country back on track. And that starts with having people of courage in our government who care more about the country than they do about the political elite in Washington, and actually rooting out the deep rot that exists within our bureaucracies, the administrative state, the deep state in Washington.
If Trump wants...
All right. So, fellas, let me get y'all's perspective. Is a former Democrat the best VP pick for Trump, especially to win over those independent voters?
If you ask me, I'm going to say Tim Scott, but that's just my opinion. I don't know if we're going to talk about him. To me, he's a move, right? Tulsi Gabbard, yeah, I like her. She's cool. And I get it. If you're trying to, this is obviously Trump's last term. So he's going to have to pick someone who can carry the banner forward. Is that Tulsi Gabbard? She's young enough. She has some Democrats who like it. She's a woman. Her stances are, depending on where you look at it, you may not like her or you may like her, but it's very small chance that you're going to absolutely hate her positions. I don't know. I would say no, but that's not a decision for me to make. That's, I'm gonna say Tim Scott, but go ahead, guys.
Tim Scott is an option. I don't think he's terrible. He's better than Tulsi Gabbard. I just pulled up real quick because I didn't know. I didn't know any of the options that you were bringing up for this stuff, and so I brought this up here for Tulsi. If you want to bring it on screen, producer Cody. If you scroll down through it, there's some things that you might find yourself 50-50 on it, but then you find things on crime. She's for ending cash bail, which we just did in Illinois, and crime is rampant, eliminating private prisons. Then she's on for some things that I think are good, like mandating paper ballots. But then you get further down and she's for raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. She wants to study reparations. She wants college to be free. She wants to expand or fix existing debt relief programs for student debt. Like, the thing is, and these are all from 2020, maybe her opinions have changed, but this is what I have to go off of. And so when you have conservatives that come out, this is the same thing with RFK. When you have conservatives that come out and are like, oh my God, I love Tulsi. No. What you like is that somebody woke up and realized that there were problems with their party, but you don't really like her. I mean, assuming you're actually a conservative, like if you're not actually a conservative, that's perfectly fine. Be for Tulsi. But if you're actually a conservative, you don't support Tulsi Gabbard. And the only reason why I say this is so important is because it's not just about winning. It's also about who is going to carry the torch. And there's a lot of options, and I'm not bound to one. Tim Scott isn't a bad one.
Yeah, and I will say that you also have to pick someone who's going to carry a banner that's not going to divide your own party when the time comes, because conservatives truly don't trust Tulsi Gabbard. They may accept her as a VP just because, what she has. But then imagine, so next election, Trump's gone, right? He's termed out. Is Tulsi Gabbard, was she going to be the Republican nominee? And then she's not even a Republican? You're going to cause turmoil. So I can see that being a massive issue in the future.
Yep. Fabian, it's funny that you bring that up, because here's, first of all, the interesting thing. When I went to CPAC in February of this year, they did a straw poll at the end of the conference to see who everybody in the room, and it was like 4,000 people voted on this, that they want as their VP pick. And at the first place, it was Tulsi Gabbard. And it just shows you how well she actually has been able to grab favorability around her. And I'm very skeptical, because if he does take her on this ride, then I actually believe you'll actually have in 2028 RFK join her on the ticket together, and they're going to run as Democrats. And that's the struggle that we're going to have as conservatives with her. I'm really skeptical, because she aligns a lot with RFK on a lot of stuff. And I believe they actually would do phenomenal together on a ticket. So just if we're talking about people that we hopefully want to have, right? I always throw this joke out. I'd love Nikki Haley as the VP. No, I'm kidding. But my top pick as a VP is DeSantis, because I don't think there's anybody else that could truly be like Trump and reach those center-right independent voters, and even center-left folks, because center-left folks, if you give them a damn good option on the other side, because they're really disenfranchised with Trump, they may dislike Biden, but they're still putting Biden over him, or they're going to flock over to RFK. If you want people to flock over to Trump, you need somebody like a DeSantis that's going to win those people over. So that's my last thoughts about that. But before we go to last thoughts, there's also one more good VP pick. Producer Cody, can we pull up that tweet real quick? Because this VP pick is amazing. And no, I'm not talking about Dr. Ben Carson. I'm talking about Kev himself.
Kevin Phares, baby. Let's go.
So Kev put up this tweet, obviously talking about Dr. Ben Carson potentially being a VP pick, but I was like, heck, man, what do we need Dr. Ben Carson, right? Well, we got Kev.
Look at that stud right there.
Oh, man. That was a few years ago. I was a little sunburnt. I was out in Florida. I have a signed copy of his book, which I love. It's probably one of my favorite books. It's got like all pictures in it. It's beautiful. But beautiful. No, I will say for Ben Carson, though, I think that he oftentimes gets underrated, because he is kind of, he's mundane in the way that he
Low
speaks.
energy. Yeah.
He's but he's one of the most intellectual people I've ever met.
Yeah.
In shaking his hand and talking to him briefly, absolutely one of the nicest people, and feels very genuine coming from politics. And one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. Not to mention the fact that he would poll well, likely with minority voters, which is just a fact you have to bring up when you talk about that stuff. So
Yeah.
but I like him. I think he is a good, and thank
Big
you
fan of
for the
Carson.
option. Maybe one day, but I'm a little too young for me.
Yeah. I always love Ben Carson. What was that gaffe he had where I think it was the debates where him and Trump went out in the wrong order or something like that. And he was waiting
funny.
around.
He was.
That was
And Trump went past
fantastic.
him. That was pretty funny.
That was funny. Well, fellas, that does it for the VP segment of here. Now, for my favorite part of the show, let's get into Kev's quick hits.
Quick hits.
Oh man, we got to get you smashing the computer.
Ready, baby. I'm ready.
Yeah, Kev's quick hits. Let's go. Quick hit number 1: Busch Gardens Brawl. I was talking about this on Twitter earlier today. Take a look at the video. Let me know what you guys think. But we're going to talk about it a little bit more. There's more context to maybe think about too. Take a look.
Oh my God!
So this is Busch Gardens in Florida. I've actually been on this ride in that line before, and all of a sudden it seemed as though, at least according to the video, that all these young men just started beating the crap out of this older gentleman. It seemed as though the young men were African American, as the older gentleman was white. Just knowing that, what are your guys' thoughts? Quick.
For me, the only thing that I could see that would start that is if he called him the N-word. That's literally that's the only reason why I think that someone would go to that stage and everybody would be attacking, because how do you offend everyone at the same time? That's the only way I can think about it. So I don't know.
David?
I mean, Fabian, that was exactly my same thoughts. That's why I laughed so hard, because the only thing that could come to mind of why this all of a sudden happened is because exactly what you just said.
Okay, so I reposted this video on Twitter. I found it from somebody else's and I watched it. And from everything that I saw, as I was like, I don't know. I said, I don't know the context. So I gave myself an out if I was messed up. But I said, if I don't know the context, but from what I do see, there is no reason that this would ever be justifiable. Even if he had said the N-word, no matter what, there's no reason why you should be getting into a massive fist fight at Busch Gardens. Like, no matter what he did. And then I got all these people coming back, and they had a screenshotted post from like some random dude's Facebook that had said that he had actually punched their grandmother.
Oh, you gotta defend the grandma.
But I have no video evidence that this has happened. Then other people, I have like 100 comments on this tweet where people were saying, but that was actually a lie. And then I have all these people calling me a racist because I think that like these guys shouldn't beat this guy up. And no matter what, but that's the developing story, is that apparently this white guy might have maybe punched these people's grandma. But what we do know is that they beat the crap out of him afterwards. No matter what, I believe they should lock him up. Last thoughts?
I'm even more confused now than I was before you told me that.
Wow. Yeah, that tweet has 17,000 views. So it seems like people are really chiming in.
They absolutely are. But there's other things to talk about too going out there today. Sonny Houston being an absolute idiot. Take a look and a listen at this video of her on The View just being an idiot.
I think it's, I think we need to shift the framing of these college protests, in my view. I think college campuses have been the place for anti-war protests for as far as I can remember. I think recent protests haven't even reached the scale of the major student protests that we saw in the late 1960s against the Vietnam War, or even the 1980s against South Africa's practice of apartheid. We saw calls during apartheid to divest from South African companies, and that was very successful. Nelson Mandela said he believed that's what led, in many respects, to South Africa being freed from that system.
She's losing it.
And so I think these are anti-war protests, and I think it's very distressing that we are framing these as pro-Palestinian protests or pro-Israeli protests. These are anti-war protests, and what they are the students that I have spoken to at many of the Ivy League schools, and a student that I did speak to also at Emory, where a professor was thrown to the ground simply for asking the police, what are you doing to these peacefully protesting students? The students are telling me this is a humanitarian crisis.
So we have Sonny Houston here coming out and saying that no, everybody, they're not actually pro-Palestinian protests, despite the fact that they take down the American flag and put up the Palestine flag, and they say that it's all about Palestine, it's all about Palestine, it's all about Palestine. No, it's actually just anti-war, reminiscent of that of the Vietnam era. Thoughts?
I don't even know where to start. Which war? Which war is this anti? She put out a very, very bold statement and said, and her only reasoning to back it up is because in the 60s we had this, therefore I believe that this is what this is. Just, I mean, disregarding everything happening. So it's really hard to say anything about sheer stupidity and ignorance. I don't know how to respond to that.
Absolutely. Well, I personally think that it's not anti-war protests. It's not anti-Israel protests. It's literally anti-Semitic protests, because they don't have anything to criticize when it comes down to Israel or anything like that. It has nothing to do with the same thing that the Vietnam War in the 60s and how these students protested on these campuses, essentially trying to have America stop being in a 20-year-long war. This has nothing to do with that. It's literally them, for some reason, falling under Hamas propaganda, because it's so damn powerful on TikTok and on all these social medias, that they believe that they're actually somewhat the same of what the progressives were in the 1960s when they were protesting actual war. Listen, at the end of the day, you had a terrorist organization that crossed over the damn border and slaughtered 1,200 civilians without any military targets in there, and then thought that Israel just wouldn't respond, or that perhaps that there should be some equal response, whatever the hell that means at the end of the day. So useful idiots like this. She's not even an intelligent idiot. So just have her reading her notes. Literally.
No, and I 100% agree. And even with that too, I mean, let's just look at the absolute difference too. I mean, when you look at the people that were protesting for the Vietnam War back in the 60s and early 70s, their whole thing was, I love America. I love the people here. I don't want us to be wasting our resources. I don't want us to be screwing ourselves. So let's get out of this war. And now I can disagree with the way that they went about some of that stuff and everything like that. But at the end of the day, they were pro-America.
Yep.
At these Palestinian protests, pro-Palestine protests, they are deliberately saying death to America and replacing America with Palestinian flags. So I'm sorry, but they are not the same. Sonny Houston, you're an absolute idiot. You sit in your ivory towers and you don't actually listen to anything the average person has to say. But speaking of things going on at the protests, comedian Alex Stein went to the protest. This is our next quick hit. And this is probably one of the funniest things I've seen to come out of them. So let's take a look and listen to this video.
We're here at UT Austin, where I just got assaulted by transgender pro-Palestine people. I didn't realize gay for Palestine is actually real. But watch this video.
Hey, can I ask you a question? When Palestine, aren't they mean to trans people? Aren't they mean to trans people? We're here at UT Austin, and trans people are out here protesting for Palestine, but don't Palestinians throw gay people off roofs?
Hey, sir, can you please?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna hang out right here. Can anybody tell me about, do they do any pride parades?
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, what are you going to do about it? You guys are all idiots. You guys are transgender. You guys aren't even allowed to be in Palestine. I
know, but he gets like thrown to the ground. Poor guy.
Such peaceful protesters, huh? This is great. He's awesome at what he does. But okay, so my quick reaction to this is that you hear queers for Palestine, LGBTQ for Palestine, every alphabet soup person in the world for Palestine, but you never actually hear queers in Palestine. You don't hear LGBTQ in Palestine because it's true.
They don't last long.
They don't last long, but okay, maybe now they might last a little longer because there's no really roofs left up there. Sorry if that's too harsh of a joke, but in reality, they don't really have rooftop parties anymore like they used to, throwing all these alphabet soup people off their roofs. But yeah, seriously, guys, you hear all these for Palestine, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't survive more than 24 hours in Palestine, whatever the hell Palestine is. It doesn't exist or never existed.
Absolutely. Fabian?
Look, it takes someone to just go in there and be like, guys, you're kind of stupid because, like, let me tell you why. And it's a very simple, logical conclusion. Like, dude, you'd be killed. Like, okay, look, if you understand that and you're okay with that and you still want to support someone who would kill you in a second, then okay. As long as you acknowledge your stupidity, or as long as you acknowledge that they will kill you on sight.
Yeah.
If that, then I respect you for doing it because you know you're going to get killed and you're still supporting them.
Yeah, well, and like that's the thing, is it'd be one thing if they were out there, and because like the thing is it's not just Palestine. Like for the entire religion of Islam says like that, not like, because like Christianity says that yes, you're like being gay is a sin, but Islam is like, not only is it a sin, you should also just like die. And so it'd be one thing if you went out and said, I support somebody's right to be Islamic. Perfectly fine. That's like a First Amendment argument. I 100% support that. But you're going out there and you're like, not only do I support that, I want them to be able to take over this entire other country that is currently sovereign and kill all of them, and then take up more space and destroy my country, because that's what they really stand for. They scream death to America, and then kill me too. Like that's where it really, like, it's just like you have to be so
the ultimate martyr.
Stupid. Absolutely. But there are some people who support stupid causes and they do it for pretty good reasons. And that's why, well, at least not pretty good reasons, not morally good reasons, but at least they have a justification. And that's this next video of an influencer who's an OnlyFans contributor, a TikTok star, and she talks about why she does some of her content. Take a look and listen to this clip.
School. You were still in college when you started as a TikTok person, right? Or you started OnlyFans when you were in school too?
No, I started TikTok like the spring semester of my senior year, and I was like, fuck, I finally have to start applying for law school. And then, like, you know, female privilege, life is so easy for a, you know, woman. Obviously, I lucked out. I'm just kidding. I lucked out. And then, you know, TikTok was basically full time for me. I think I was taking ads by the time I graduated college from like the Biden administration and Planned Parenthood and like dating apps and stuff. So it was like fully financially, you know, sustaining.
So you were
me.
getting, the Biden administration was buying ads from you?
Yeah, I was doing full on political propaganda.
And they would just, oh, really? With like what kind of, like, Biden created 10 million jobs this year?
Yeah, honestly. And the funny thing is, they're like, do not disclose this is an ad, because, you know, they're like, technically it's not a product, so you don't have to disclose it's an ad. Because I think they just wanted like some edgy girl of color to just tell people, like when they nominated like Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're like, can you say like as a person of color, you know, that you feel reflected? And it's like a white woman emailing this to me, and she's like giving me this script, and I'm like, no. And she's like, please. And I'm like, no, I'll like talk about the news of it, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna have a white person tell me to be like, you know, this is how I feel as a person of color. Like, it's just so, I think that black-pilled me slightly on like, you know, political propaganda
So
stuff.
the Biden administration sees, oh, here's this young,
Yeah, I mean, they use like a conduit. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not Biden, but it's like
Biden,
it's like a third party. You know what I mean? It's like a media company that's doing it on his behalf. I'm not blaming him for this.
Yeah. And the message is like, because you're a dark-skinned woman, you will be inspired by Ketanji Brown Jackson and all the kids should support her.
Yeah, they're like, basically as like another black person, just say that like you feel reflected by Ketanji. I'm like, no, I'll talk about like Ketanji's background and her accomplishments, but like I never, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna say like the corny stuff. Even if it was a brown person emailing it to me, I'm like, no, that's not like how I feel. Like I don't look at like Ketanji and feel like, wow.
Yeah. See,
Interesting.
Thoughts.
So we knew this was going on for quite a while, at least a few years. And we were talking about how the Democrats have taken over this influencer market and just funneled a bunch of money because they get a really good ROI compared to running ads, especially for the young people who aren't watching, you know, all these normal legacy media organizations. And now, hey, look, somebody came out and said exactly what we were talking about over a year or two ago. So the tinfoil hats are right yet again and batting 1,000.
Exactly, Fabian. And if you haven't realized why all of a sudden sometimes you open up your feed and every single influencer is saying the exact same thing, it's because a campaign, most likely a talent agency, reached out to them and dangled some type of cash reward on top and said, if you can make a video expressing these ideas and whatever, propagating these different fake datas and whatnot, then we'll pay you this much amount of money. And that's why every single person creator sounds the exact same, and she's a perfect representation of that right there.
Absolutely. And this is why what I think is really important to talk about with all of this is, yes, we knew it was going on. Two, this is very important because like we didn't really necessarily have the creators explicitly coming out and saying this was happening. So now we actually have the creator that comes out and says, yeah, I even recognize I was selling political propaganda to everybody. I just kind of didn't care. And then the third thing that I think is really important to say is the differentiation between, at least from what I understand, because like we're political commentators. We have partnerships and deals like with Freedom 2.0 and stuff like that, but we like Freedom 2.0. And the thing that's the difference is that we were not making like random content and then we had a political organization reach out to us and say, oh my God, like you guys should push our product. You might not actually even stand for what it is, but you guys should push it just so that like we can get our clout and everything. No. We were already conservative. We were already dealing with the things that conservatives deal with. And they reached out to us, or in some way we got in contact with them because we already stood for the same ideals. We wouldn't take somebody just for the money. We take people that stand for what we are already making content about. Liberals take it just for the money.
You're right, Kev.
That's exactly right. And you can feel when it's organic and when it's not organic. And for everyone watching, think critically. If everyone you follow, all these influencers are saying the exact same thing, not only the exact same thing, but at the exact same time, you have to think to yourself, is this organized? Like when you see all of these protests at all these college campuses, they have medical tents, they have reading tents, they have food tents where everyone has done the exact same. You have to think to yourself, if all the tents look the same and all the protests are organized the exact same, maybe it's organized and not organic. Like you have to think about these things because that's how you're going to break away from the mainstream narrative, which is what we try to help you do, and think critically about situations like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we have one more quick hit coming up here. And so Hunter Biden was actually talking today about suing Fox News. Apparently his lawyers sent a thing to Fox News saying, oh my God, you guys played videos and pictures of me that showed me with prostitutes and smoking crack. Like that's defamation. And the lawsuit seems to be imminent. But I don't really give a crap about that because Hunter Biden's a scumbag. So I figured I'd play this instead. So let's play this.
Shout out to Bass Records. Hey, yo, Hunter. Roll up another one of them congressional blunts, brother. He was gonna get his laptop fixed, but Hunter got high. He wasn't gonna show all them dick pics, but Hunter got high. He should have let Hillary bleach his whole hard drive. Yeah, hey, Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high. He wasn't gonna mess with the hoes, but Hunter got high. He was gonna take them all out on the boat, but Hunter got high. He's the smartest man Joe ever knew in his life. Yeah, hey, till Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high.
All right, Cody, we're good, Cody. I appreciate it. That's right. That's it for quick hits, though, everybody. I thought that shit was funny. What did you guys think?
Well, first of all, he's the reason why I got shadow banned severely on Instagram this last time, which I'm still completely shadow banned because I posted a picture from Hunter Biden's laptop that had him with the hooker. Everything was covered up. You couldn't see what's going on, but they were in bed together. And Instagram hit me for nudity and something else. And then that's all she wrote.
Oh, my God.
It's all, Fabian, it's all because Hunter got high.
That's all because
Hunter got high.
If he could stay away from the crack pipe, then he'd be good. Maybe.
My final thoughts about all of this is that now at least the Biden administration has something that they can, like be the reason why it's so shitty. Excuse my language, because Hunter got high and they can just blame that for everything. Sorry, the inflation is bad. Hunter got high. Sorry. Sorry, all the infrastructure is bad. It's because Hunter got high. Sorry that we can't fix the border. It's because Hunter got high.
He smoked all the rock.
It's the new thanks Obama. Now it's Hunter got high.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, a bunch of bozos.
Oh my God. Those are Kev's quick hits.
What an eventful night, fellas, huh? I mean, we had a packed, jammed show for everybody today. Talked about everything. Baby making apparently is a right-wing conspiracy. George Soros is funding 10 cities and a bunch of other people. We reacted to your awesome memes, or to the awesome meme we found. Fabian told you what the hell are all of these colors on this rainbow flag. I don't even know what to call it nowadays. Make sure you go follow Seek, because that was our activist highlight of the week. And we discussed all this weird drama that's happening with Kristi Noem, as well as other VP picks. And Kev's quick hits never disappoint. Oh, yeah. Make sure to stay tuned with all of our updates by following us everywhere. All of our social medias, just type in Breakaway USA on any platform, and I guarantee that you'll find us. You may not get it recommended because they like to shadow ban us. So type in all of Breakaway USA. To make sure that you're following with all the stuff that we're posting, you have to follow our Telegram group as well. As you can see right there, you can just type in t.me/breakaway, or just scan that code. Make it easier for yourself. Breakaway USA News is going to be right back to it Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. And to see all of our amazing other shows, all of our personal shows, all of the other shows that are going on Breakaway, go find it on Breakaway USA on any social media. Fabian, Kev, it was a freaking amazing night, packed with so much great stuff. So, and of course, before we go, we can't go without shouting our sponsor. So make sure you go to freedom20.com. Get this for your liberal aunt. That's my slogan that I like to say. And of course, use the Breakaway coupon right there. Fellas, that does it for the show. I'm out. Breakaway's out. Let's end this thing.